am I going to go?
You're gonna take care of that new dog on a rainy day.
She has so much separation anxiety.
You're free to proceed, Commissioner Byrne.
Thank you, Brant.
2 o'clock.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is 2 p.m. on Wednesday, March 24th, 2021. This is the City of Rehoboth Beach Animal Issues Committee, and we are called to order at 2 p.m. We do have an agenda in front of us, and we will follow that agenda. And so let me do roll call, as brief as it appears it will be. Marshall Maldes and
Here.
Cheryl Crow are both here. And thank you, including myself, Commissioner Dick Byrne, and Ray Bryant has indicated that he's away and not able to join us. And I've not heard from, I'm seeing Bob Harrison is joining us. Let's give him just a moment here.
Oh.
Bob, if you can hear me, you're muted and your camera is off. Hi, Bob, are you there?
All right.
There he is.
Can you hear me?
Hi,
Yes.
Bob. Yes, we can hear you. Welcome. Your camera is off, so we cannot see you.
Well,
I don't know what's happened.
maybe that's a good thing. I don't know.
Let me try.
No, we'd like to see you. It's been a long time.
There. Now
There you are. Wonderful. We were just completing roll call. Bob, we called things to order just a couple of minutes ago. So let the record show that Bob Harrison has joined us. There are only 4 of us today. And we have only 5 members, and I indicated that Ray is away traveling. The next item is approval of minutes of the meeting held on January 27th, 2021. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Bob. Is there a second?
Second. I wrote them, but
Thank you, Marcia.
okay.
Is there any discussion, any comments on the minutes from our January 27th meeting? Seeing none, everyone in favor of approving those minutes, please say aye.
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 Against? Okay, thank you very much. And Marcia, thank you for taking minutes. It's much appreciated. There is no correspondence this meeting. And it's my understanding from Ann Womack that no members of the public asked to participate or to make public comments at our meeting. However, if there are folks out there simply watching the meeting, we welcome you and we encourage you in the future to stay involved with the Animal Issues Committee and to let us know if you do have thoughts and comments. My updates are very brief this meeting. However, I do have a couple of comments. I do want to remind us and anyone that's watching that we do have a mission statement, and that mission statement does guide our work. And like all committees, we are asked to make sure we keep that mission statement in front of us and that we take a look at it on a regular basis. So with your permission, let me just read through that as a reminder to ourselves and to any public that are watching who we are and what it is that we're striving to do. The Animal Issues Committee of the City of Rehoboth Beach provides ideas, suggestions, and solutions in order to create a more animal-friendly environment in the City of Rehoboth Beach while working to preserve the health, peace, safety, cleanliness, and good order of the city and its inhabitants. The committee will work to inspire the community to sustain wildlife populations and habitats through science-based management and conservation. The Animal Issues Committee is advisory to the Board of Commissioners. Membership is by appointment by the Board of Commissioners. And so thanks to the three of you for making time to join us today and for your participation. We are searching for one or two new members of this committee. The mayor has been good enough to put out information recently through his city staff and team, asking for people to apply for this committee and several other committees in the city. And so that has gone out in a press release. It has been on various radio stations, publications, it's on the city website. And if any of you know folks that you feel may appropriately fit the work of this committee and who either reside within the city, own property in the city, or have a business within the city, please encourage them to go on the city website and look at the application and complete that. That will go into our city secretary, Ann Womack, who will in turn share that information with me. And once I have hopefully several applications, I will bring that information to a Board of Commissioners meeting and make a nomination to move one or two people forward to join our committee. I'm eager to do that. I think we need one or two more. And so anything any of you can do to help in that will be helpful. We do have under old business 3 items. They're items that have come up periodically. They're items that we did a little bit of discussion on at our January 27th meeting. And I think many of us gathered some information that we said we would do. I first want to thank Cheryl for the homework that she did, following through and looking at what other states have done in several of these areas, looking at some ideas and possibilities that could guide our city if we were to adopt one of these measures. And so that's been very helpful, Cheryl. Thank you so much. So let me open it first. I have comments on each of these because I've done a little bit of homework and I'm not sure whether to share the comments that I have learned first or to listen to you first, because my comments may put an end to discussion that you have. And I am interested in hearing from each of you. So I think I'll open it up first and let's look at the first item. Continued discussion regarding the possibility of installing bag dispensers for dog waste on the boardwalk. And I do have some comments that I learned, but I'm happy to hear from any of you first before I share that. Okay, hearing nothing, let me go, and then you can react and respond to the comments that I have. And my comments are not meant to be the definitive answer to this question, but it is the homework that we said that we would do. So 2 things have happened since we talked about this in January. One, the Beach and Boardwalk Committee also had this as an agenda item because they received the same correspondence that we received early in the season. And early in the season, meant late fall when the boardwalk was just reopening to dogs again. And it was just a couple of pieces of correspondence that indicated that people were seeing that there was a waste problem and should we do something was the question. The Beach and Boardwalk Committee discussed that at 2 monthly meetings. They did a little bit of homework, a little bit of research like we've done, and they came to the conclusion that it wasn't much of a problem and that they were not going to go forward making any recommendations to the mayor and board of commissioners, that they didn't see it as as a problem that deserved any more attention. What I did was follow through and talk with the city manager and some of her team in Public Works and ask them what, one, their observation was. Were they hearing of problems, and what did they recommend? And they were not hearing of any problems. The Public Works guys that do work on the boardwalk were not observing problems. They were not seeing dog waste. It was their observation that everything was going in the trash cans, of which there are a great many of year-round on the boardwalk. And the city manager recommended that we not do anything. That she didn't think that there was a problem. She thought that adding dispensers to the boardwalk would just add to the clutter in that area. It takes extra staff time to not only install the dispensers and cost, of course, but also keeping them up and making sure that there are bags there and so on. So her advice, City Manager Lynn's advice, was that there really isn't a problem to be solved, and she was hopeful that we would not move this forward, although she understands we have a right to do it and perhaps a responsibility to do that, at least a responsibility to investigate this issue and to talk about it. So that's what I've learned over the 2 months since we met. Again, I'm happy to open it up to your observations, your thoughts, comments.
Maybe we should just wait until the end of the summer and see what happens with, stores not having all the plastic bags and what people are doing. It's not just the boardwalk, but the sidewalks and around the park.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think a lot of the work that we've done as a committee now and in the past has been relatively proactive. And, due to some comment and obviously someone raising an issue. But I tend to think that we're not necessarily solving a larger issue here. I agree with Marcia. I think we let a little time go by. If we have reason to think or proof that these complaints and these circumstances continue to happen, then maybe we can act or bring back to the table for discussion.
Bob, you're muted.
Oh, shoot.
There you go.
Am I on? Can you hear?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Yes.
My concern would still be the lack of the single-use plastic bags in the state now. I think that's still going to be a detriment to the dog waste. But again, I would agree, and we could certainly wait and see if that does cause more of an issue. And if the city manager doesn't think we have a problem, her office would get the most complaints, I would think. So I would defer to her.
Right. Okay. My personal observation is based on the fact that I walk Joey on the boardwalk at least 4 or 5 days every week, and we do the entire length of the boardwalk, and I've not seen any dog waste on the boardwalk. So let's wait and see then. And again, Cheryl, I want to thank you for the research you did in this area, because at some point, if we return to this, I think that will still be very helpful and useful information.
Sure thing.
Good, good.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to the second item, continued discussion regarding dogs in hot unattended vehicles. And again, Cheryl did some good research, looked at a few other states and what they're doing. So let me share what I said I would do and what I learned, and then we can go on with discussion. I talked with with Chief Keith Banks, our police chief, and simply told him what we were discussing, and said that I really wanted to know if the police thought this was a problem based on calls and reports that they've received over the last several years. And he did a thorough job. He said he didn't think there was a problem, but he wanted to talk to his lieutenants, and he wanted to check the record to see what the record indicated over the last couple of years on this issue. And asked him if he would put something in writing to me, and that this is what he wrote. Each year, and this is a quote from Chief Banks, each year we do receive complaints of dogs being left in hot unattended vehicles. However, upon investigating these complaints, the vast majority are unfounded concerns. Over all the time that I've worked here as a police officer, I can only remember 2 occasions that owners were negligent. And in those 2 occasions, they were cited with a ticket. So he went on then to say to me that, it's not a problem, that the public is observant. It's his observation. The public does care, and they do get a few calls every summer. And in almost every situation, people are expressing concern, but it's unfounded. There's somebody in the car, the AC is on, and it's not the animal left in a hot, unattended vehicle. So that's what I have learned. And open to your comments. I do like the stickers that Cheryl provided. And I got thinking, it doesn't take much to do something with that. And an easy thing to do would be to simply have one of those put up on our city website for the summer season, where in our animal category, so that as people go in and look at things that could pop up in the summer.
Mm-hmm. That's a great idea. Yeah. And I think going back to an earlier point, we've been so proactive, and this sort of project was proactive in a sense that I think all of us were aware that we didn't necessarily have an overwhelming number of calls coming in regarding animals in hot cars. I think collectively the goal was to prevent that, but I can certainly understand from Chief Banks' perspective that we may be I don't want to say overstepping or overthinking by taking steps to move forward with something that hasn't really been identified as a problem per se by example. I do think, and I'm not sure if it was in our last meeting or just in conversation, that like you mentioned, doing some type of educational or communication poster or something would certainly be helpful. And I think it was brought up some way somehow that even a poster or a flat sticker on the parking meters, as a reminder, welcome to Rehoboth, we're glad you're here, but please be mindful of leaving, kids, pets, whatever, in vehicles. It's an obvious and clear reminder, but it's right there. So, that might be something we could take back, sort of like a compromise in a sense of, not really pursuing anything other than just an informational campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good to me.
Cheryl, is that, I'm just bringing it up on my other screen here, the flyer dog in a hot car.
Mm-hmm.
Is that public information from the Animal Legal Defense Fund that can be used easily in different venues?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It is copyrighted, but I do have some other resources that are very similar that are not copyrighted that we can look to include in or on the city's website.
Okay, that might be good if you're willing.
Mhm.
Between now and start of the season, I suppose if we got something to our communications office by early to mid-May, I mean a month away or so, that would give them plenty of time to get something up on the website, that could serve that informational, educational purpose. Another thing that occurred to me is that I think all of you know Jeff Balk, who is the general manager and runs Radio Rehoboth. And, he does 5 days a week from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. The morning show. It's basically all local newsy kinds of things and interviews, all kinds of local folks. And, it'd be wonderful if one of you would want to go on the radio or even two of you would want to go on the radio with Jeff and just, a 5 to 10 minute little thing with him to simply promote these things and not to get into, legal kinds of issues, but just to talk about, care and concern for our companion animals, in hot vehicles and to talk about the boardwalk and the importance of, using bags, cleanliness, and our next item about the dangers of, animals riding in open vehicles. So that'd be something. I'd be happy to hook you up with Jeff to give you his cell. He's very good at responding almost immediately to a text, and he's always looking kind of for the next few guests, next week or the following week, because he has a lot of time slots to fill. And Cheryl, you've maybe been on with him before.
Yeah, a few times.
Yeah.
And I think collectively it would be a good idea not only to do an interview, but maybe we can pre-record a short PSA that can kind of be used over and over again as the season rolls on. And it can be something very, very short, very quick, but again, just a constant reminder for folks that might need it.
That's a great idea because you could then play it throughout the summer. Because it is my sense he is a nonprofit community radio station, and I think he's always looking not only for guests but for information to fill his 2 hours every morning. And
Reports.
yeah, and yet they are on the radio 24/7. So public safety announcements can be played any time of the day or night, not just during his 2 hours. So, okay, well.
I nominate Cheryl.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cheryl, you kind of volunteered with a little urging.
I'm volunteered for everything perpetually. So yes, I'll be happy to connect with him.
Okay. And let's be in touch with that and what we can do both in terms of the city website and then, something appropriate for the radio. Are any other thoughts or ideas about this? In some ways, this kind of overlaps into the next item under old business. Not that it's the same issue, but I think it becomes an informational, educational kind of an issue for us to deal with also. So let me segue into that if we're ready for that. That is continued discussion regarding dogs in the back of pickup trucks. And so I also talked with Chief Banks about this, and I asked him if he would, put something in writing after we chatted about it a bit. And he said, there are no issues with dogs in the back of pickup trucks in the city of Rehoboth Beach. That's not to say it never occurs, but it's extremely rare in this town, period. So, and others that I've talked to, have indicated that if people are, if there's dogs in the back of pickup trucks, they're coming from somewhere else. They're not originating. It's highly unlikely it's originating in the city, and that there probably would really need to be some state action on this. And Cheryl, I don't know, as you were digging around, if the state has anything on that. I suspect it's so common in some communities in Western Sussex County that that there'd be a lot of pushback.
Yeah, something that has been brought up before, not incredibly recently, but it had been brought up in the past, and it is not a priority issue for action this year. And you are correct with the pushback and private property rights and things like that. So I think it's something that up to this point has fallen under general definition of cruelty or endangerment. So, I can see reasons why it has not progressed any further.
Yeah. We're very fortunate in our small city to have just an outstanding police department.
Mm-hmm.
And, if anyone were to observe something going on that would be either endangering the animal or a nuisance from a lot of barking or something, I mean, our police respond immediately to these things and deal very well with the folks that have the responsibility for that animal. And I know our chief and our police officers, do not hesitate, one, to educate people about appropriate behavior, but also to issue a citation if it is so warranted under the law. And Chief Banks, continuously makes that known, when I ask him about these things.
But is there a law about dogs in the back of pickup trucks?
There's nothing specific, Marcia.
Well,
No,
there's a guy that comes into town, was coming into town every day, went to Dunkin' Donuts with his German Shepherd in the back of the car. The dog would bark. I mean, he's having a great time. Bark all the way down Rehoboth Avenue. We were walking to get our newspaper, and then of course we got this dog, and with heartworm we can't walk that far anymore. So I don't know if he's still doing it or what, but that was every morning.
I have not seen him since
8 o'clock.
Yeah, I've not seen him since warm weather last fall. So
You saw him previously.
yes, I did.
Mm.
Yeah, he was here on a regular basis, and the dog would bark every time I would walk by with my dog.
I just barked. He was having a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and from my discussions and prior experience with looking at these types of issues with the Office of Animal Welfare, they've done a tremendous job of not attacking things from a policy and a law level per se immediately, but more from an education, safety, hey, this is probably not the best idea, but what do you need to be, what can we do for you to make this safer? Or do you not have another option? Or, that approach is so much more effective than coming out and finding a ticket on your windshield, or somebody screaming at you, telling you that you're abusing your animal. None of us would do that, but, that's, that there are folks that would and could. But I think going back to Commissioner Burns' point, we are so fortunate to have such proactive, not only committee members and residents and citizens, but also a police force that has that same mindset. They're very much ready and willing to to open these conversations and to not be so so forceful and to be so responsive. I think we're really lucky. Ideally, would it make sense for us to do this? Sure, but if we've got going back to the boardwalk waste and the dogs and hot cars, if this happens once a year, is it, and maybe, to even be seen or caught, is it worth us really putting the time and effort into crafting some type of language? As much as I would love to do that, I kind of argue against it as well. I think, we should probably look at it as more of an educational opportunity rather than a policy opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Well, and particularly when the police chief has indicated clearly that it's not a problem. And that's why we talk to these individuals in between meetings so we can find out. Bob, any additional comments that you have?
Not really, other than I feel like we're protected by the state for the dogs and hot cars. Our police officers, are protected by the state. They can go ahead and get a dog out of a car or a cat or whatever. And the state at this point has nothing on its books, I don't believe, about dogs in the back of pickups. So I don't think we're going to be able to get anything on our books if the state isn't behind us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I know we had some conversation in January. I'm getting some feedback from one of your microphones there, I think. Thanks, Bob. I think it was coming from yours for some reason. I don't know why. We had indicated that Cheryl and maybe Bob, if you had an opportunity, would talk to any of the shopkeepers about these issues. I don't want to let that thought go and move on in this meeting until we've at least heard if there was any information there that is worth knowing about. Cheryl, I know you talked to at least one.
Yeah, and the general consensus was that I think exactly what's coming from the city is it an overwhelming issue that we all need to be alarmed about? No, but the business is related to pets, where let's say someone might bring their dog in the car to go get a treat or an ice cream or whatever, weren't as concerned and would be supportive of any language, or if we did have an issue where we needed to be active, but certainly saw no aversion to it, but certainly saw no need for it at the moment. So I think we're covered there.
Okay, good. Thank you, Cheryl. Any other comments before we move the agenda? Any other information on these items? Okay, the next item is new business. And what I had intended to put down here, and my intention was to get an update from Marcia and Bob regarding feral cats in the city and so on. And I've continued to be a small part of what they've been doing and helping to trap on some days. But Bob and Marcia, if you could give us an update.
All I remember is the one female we had not gotten. The people at that property actually were able to work with Bob in a drop trap, catch her, and she has been spayed. So as far as we know, that's the end of the females. We do have a couple of males roaming around, but we don't know where they are.
And if there are no females, then we're okay going into the spring season, yes.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully, yes. Yeah, well, good. Thank you, Marcia and Bob, for all you continue to do in this area. I can report from having talked to Ray several days ago before he headed off for the ski slopes of New Hampshire that he is intending to do the usual training that he does with both the lifeguards and with our summer temporary police officers in terms of giving them the information and the boxes for injured birds. So he is on top of that. He will continue to do that. It's kind of his his passion and his love, and he's in touch with the appropriate people. So that will be happening as we go into the season. And as the lifeguard.
I'd like to add that one of the colonies that Bob and I were feeding has so slowly dwindled and is now gone. And that the geese used to come and be obnoxious. So I've noticed that the 2 geese don't even hang out in that area. So hopefully they'll go to grass and be happy.
Very good.
Now it's going to be the picnickers. You know,
That's,
sit at the picnic table and give them bread.
yeah, that's always the long-range plan, that the colony will live its life and
Yes.
eventually go away. Thank you. That's great. Items for future agendas. No compelling issues that you're hearing about? Nothing that's coming to you?
Do we have any, and this might be something for maybe the next meeting to work on, do we have any update or input on how things are going in terms of the placement of the plaques and signs on the turtle bridge with feeding the turtles and feeding geese and things like that? Just kind of curious if there's been any change that we can note to monitor moving forward.
That's up year round. And I guess it remains to be seen as we get into the season, as visitors come, if the signage is helpful. It certainly has been helpful in terms of residents, because I cross that bridge once or twice a day on dog walks. And I just do not see people in the off season feeding the Canada geese that remain there all winter. The turtles hibernate to some degree, but there are Canada geese there all winter long, and no one is there feeding them in the off season. So we will see.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I guess the same will be true for Lake Girard, because it was at Girard last year where we had the 1 or 2 goslings who developed the so-called angel wings from overfeeding of bread and so on, and they were very young. And that's a very, very sad situation, because they do not learn to fly, and therefore they lose their life because there's no going back once they get to a certain age. So it's very sad. Well, hearing no other ideas for future agendas, I mean, in some ways that's good news. I don't think we're totally out of business, but we don't have at least any compelling high energy issues right in front of us, and so that's always good. I do hope that we can get 1 or 2 more people, like I said, on the committee, because I do want to, we have gone, as I mentioned, in January to a rule that while people that live out of the city can serve on the committee, they're not able to vote. And so, we don't have a lot of votes, but one never knows going forward. So, Ray, while he serves a very good purpose and represents tri-state bird rescue, he's not going to have a vote. And I've just learned recently from Cheryl that she is, at least temporarily, not a city resident or property owner, and therefore will continue on the committee. She brings so much good information, expertise, and energy to us, but will not have a vote. Hopefully her status will change in the coming months. And we'll get back. But at least Cheryl is very willing to continue to be an active member. And we're very happy about that, Cheryl.
Thank you. Me too.
When shall we meet next? Again, we do not have agenda items that become so important that we have dates, certain things that need to be accomplished. But I think it's good to simply touch base in a formal way. And because of the FOIA laws, I can't just send a note out to all of you and get you to comment a little bit together. We're just not able to do that. So we have to touch base in a formal way like this. Should we go toward late May, about 2 months from now, have a meeting? And if agenda items come up before then, that'd be fine. And if we're in good shape, then we can probably then go until the fall for the next meeting. I am happy, of course, to call a meeting, at your pleasure. So I'm not trying to tell you what we have to do or should do. I'm just suggesting.
Late May's fine.
Okay. Do you want to look at the calendar and pick a date right now that does not have any conflicts? Is Wednesday at 2 o'clock generally always good or not?
Good for me.
Yeah, I think that's.
Bob?
Yeah, it's good. My opinion is that I would prefer to wait until we could eventually, hopefully later this year, meet in person.
We just need to get that microphone of yours.
It says I'm being muted by the host.
Oh, well,
I have to keep holding my space bar in order to speak.
okay, well, it's working.
So,
Well, let's
which
get,
one of you are the host?
well, Brant is the host. He's one of our IT employees, and he does a wonderful job, he and the team that he's a part of, in monitoring and helping make all of these meetings go on. And so, I suspect it's a challenge because we all come in from a variety of platforms and devices, and Brant and the team that he's a part of, does their best to keep us going. But Bob, if you're willing, let me throw out the Wednesday afternoon before Memorial Day weekend, or do you want to go earlier in May, a week earlier? It would be like May 19th or May 26th. Is there a preference?
There's no preference as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. I will double check the city calendar to make sure it works for right now. We will say 2 p.m. on Wednesday, May 26th. And I will double check that and then get that confirmed with you. Are there any additional comments? Okay, we have no citizens to share comments. And so if there's nothing else, we are able to adjourn if I hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you all very, very much for joining us today, for the work that you've done in between. Stay in touch, and I will confirm some of this. Marcia, thank you for the minutes. Cheryl, thank you for all the good homework that you've done, and we will continue to work at these things. Stay safe, everyone. Very best wishes.
Yeah, that's great. Thank
Take
you.
care.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.